We're here with Paul McGinley. It's all done, it's all over. Give us your initial reaction. I'm sure you're very happy and great to see the European Tour win ultimately. Why have they won is the big question everyone's teasing through right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great week, first of all. I think we raised the bar in terms of hostings of Ryder Cup as a European Tour. I think everything was 30% bigger than it's ever been before in terms of stands, hospitality. The crowds were bigger than it's ever been at a Ryder Cup before. I think we moved it to a new level in terms of staging. I think the European team moved it to a new level in terms of executing a plan. That was pretty clinical in how they went about it, and they worked things in their favour, and a deserved success for the European team.
Are you disappointed with the Americans and the challenge they put up to the Europeans here?
I think, well, you have to say that because their top players didn't stand up. I mean, you take DJ, you take Ricky, you take Tiger, you take Phil. Between them, they won 1 point, at this level, I've studied all the stats in Ryder Cups, and generally what you're looking for, the ratio is 60% from your top players and kind of 30-40% from the guys who are either young in the team, rookies, or just maybe their second appearance. That's normally the ratio. So you're relying heavily on your big guys to stand up. The reason why we win Ryder Cups and why we have won Ryder Cups over a number of years is the Westwoods, the Elizabeths, the Darren Clarks, the Montes. You can go on and on. We all know that the centre, the fulcrum of that team. And that's why we win. And then guys like me, who will be the second half of the team, we'll throw in an odd point here and there, but the fulcrum comes from there.
One question I haven't heard a satisfactory answer to. So the course and the course setup, and we know about the narrow fairways, and we saw what the rough did, and sometimes being in the rough was effectively like being out of the hole at times.
Yeah.
I accept all that, and I accept that the PGA Tour players aren't as used to it, and you made the point about the crowd being further back, so the rough was up and lush. I accept all of that, and I know they're not used to it. What I don't understand is how, with often not a driver off a tee, these world-class players did not adapt or acclimatise. They won the first session 3-1. So, I mean, the course, yes, but I mean, they just must have played terribly, no?
Well, there's two things that I'll say on that, Joe. First of all, the first morning was quite calm. Right? The weather didn't, the wind didn't blow. That suited the Americans because you crosswinds trying to hit these fairways. And then in the afternoon, the winds came. That was a factor in our 4-0 win that second afternoon. And then we carried on the next day. The wind blew the second day pretty much all day. That was certainly a factor. The crosswind spooked them because the practice rounds here were perfect weather. In fact, it was really, really hot. And then that's the first thing, and it's to understand. Interesting today when the weather died, the wind died. America looked a lot more comfortable with the golf course than they did in the first 2 days. The second thing is, and it was cold as well. Those Friday, Saturday were cold, particularly in the mornings. And then the other thing is match play. Jose Maria Lazabal, his line that was inscribed in all our heads, and it was everywhere, was seize the moment. And I know that's a line that we hear in sport and in all other things, is how important it is. But seize the moment is particularly applicable when it comes to match play. There's match play moments, and I think we seem to be better versed and understanding the moment. And why is Ian Poulter such a fantastic match player? Why has he got such a great record in Ryder Cups? It's because he understands, he feels it, he senses it, he knows the importance of a shot. He knows when his opponent is a little bit reeling on the ropes, and he knows how to exert pressure. Match play is about exerting pressure on your opponent. There's a skill set involved in match play that nobody seems to talk about. We take guys who are top of the order merit and saying, these are the guys because they're the best players. Yeah, they're the best players in that exam, but what about the exam of Paris National with heavy rough, and also the exam of match play? And that's where the golden stuff is.
That skill set, is that an emotional skill set as well? Or is it a very technical thing of knowing to pick the shots around the course at the right time?
A lot of it is experience, Nathan. A lot of it is, growing up in Ireland, we played a huge amount of match play as kids. Ian Poulter played a lot of match play. He's got it. Some of it is innate and you get it, and other is you like looking at your opponent eye on eye. You don't want to have 150 guys coming up on the blind side. That's difficult. To be honest, my record, I know where Ian Poulter is because my record in match play was far superior than it was as a in individual in terms of trying to do it for 4 days, the monotony of 4 days, whereas the cut and thrust of individual match play, looking at my opponent and playing off him, sensing an opportunity, sensing when he's reeling, sensing now I've got one up, now I've got a chance, I can put the foot on the metal and I can go 2 up. Now I'm 2 up. This is a really important score. If I get to 3 up, it's game over in a sprint. Or if I lose the next hole, it's not. So now I'm really engaged. Now I'm totally into it. And I seem to be better at focusing in that way than I did when it was over 72 holes.
Yeah.
And I think that is a skill, and I think a lot of our players are suited to that skill and have that skill set. And a lot of it, to be honest, is handed down. We watch, we observe, we sense, we see, we're around. And that's why the meat of the European team is so important. And one of the reasons why Thomas made probably those decisions, what I've always learned, when you make decisions of bringing experienced guys in like he did, that's handed down. When he talked about experience in the team room, that's the kind of stuff that's handed down.
It's interesting. I mean, I was just in at the US press conference and there were no dramatics a la 4 years ago. Phil Mickelson was pointedly asked, was he happy with everything? He said he was thrilled with everything. And right across the 12, bar Spieth and Fowler, Spieth and Reed, which we'll come to maybe in a second, they were a fairly united bunch. They were like, we gave it our best. Jim gave us the best chance to execute the plan. We just didn't quite do it, but it's great and we can't wait for 2 years' time. That was the American sense. They were very united. And I feel like they were into it, and Furyk made the point that a lot of them did turn up in July. I know it's not tournament golf, but turned up in July for a practice day, and Justin Thomas obviously played the Paris Open. So all of that was going on, and they put up a fairly good showing in the press conference. It was noticeable on the Sky telecast. A few times you looked at them, certainly yesterday, didn't love the body language, didn't love the energy about this team. So how do you equate them saying all the right stuff and we're a happy family versus, I don't know, when you say the body language, what are you talking about and how do you equate those two things? They're an interesting team to figure out, actually.
Yeah, they are. Body language is really important in match play. When you got your opponent, you're staring at your opponent one-on-one. I mean, the best exponent of body language we've seen in modern times is Tiger Woods. He puts on the red on a Sunday. He's got an aura. He's got a sense of invincibility. I've been in his company in situations like that. He plays on that aura. He intimidates with that aura. He knows how to play the crowd. He walks around with the shoulders back. I am Tiger Woods. And you can sense it. It's like, don't get in my patch. This is my domain. I'm an actor on the biggest stage, and this is what I do. And even if things aren't going well, he still has that aura. I didn't see that from the leaders from the American team. And I look at the leaders, and the leaders, as I say, the leaders create normally 60% of your points. And even if they're not winning, they can still contribute in other ways. And they contribute by talking to a rookie while he's playing. They can contribute with what they say in the team room at night. They can contribute with their body language, their personification. I'm all right, Jack. We're good. Now, one of the best guys by a million miles in our team room was Monty. Now, we all know what Monty's like, and we see him and we think, okay, he's not really dynamic and he's that. That's not the case. I mean, an ultimate competitor. But what at team rooms, I used to look around in team rooms and I'd see Lee Westwood and I'd look around and I'd see Monty and I'd see Olazabal and I'd see Garcia and I go, man, I'm glad these guys are on the team, because they were there. They were like, bring this on. You're there, you're a young rookie, you're just starting out in your first Ryder Cup and you're looking around and you're sensing, oh God, this is going to be tough. America's so good. They got all these big golfing CVs and that. And then you look around and you look how comfortable they are and how much they're relishing the next few days. And we're going to be good. This is how we're going to do it. This is what we do. And how they speak and how they project themselves is really important, because that's what lifts the lower half of the team.
So you have your worries about the American team in that department, do you?
Well, they didn't perform. And their body language wasn't particularly good. Did Dustin Johnson have the same aura about him that he has when he plays a PGA Tour event? Certainly Tiger Woods didn't. I mean, we all can see that. He walked around like an old man. He didn't look like the Tiger Woods we see even last week in Atlanta.
He kind of admitted it in the press conference, said, look, I've played 7 out of 9 weeks.
Yeah, he was jaded. There's no doubt about that. And I think their scheduling, when we look at the preparation for the Americans, I don't think they're ready for this exam, but I also think they weren't ready in terms of their scheduling. It was at the end of the FedEx. Obviously, the FedEx had all the priority in their minds and in their hearts to a large extent. As much as they talk about the Ryder Cup, their focus and all of their focus is on that. Interesting, one of their best performances this week, although he got beaten badly today, was Jordan Spieth, who had the week off last week. I think our team were fresher. We had more vibrancy about us. We had better body language, and that just wasn't related to our momentum going away. Out of the blocks, we looked like we were. We had a different vibe about us and a different energy.
The tales of why Europe won and the key moments in the team meetings will probably emerge tonight and over the coming days. But you said you felt they executed their plan perfectly.
Europe did, yeah.
Europe did. So what do you think the plan was, and how did it differ from Gleneagles 4 years ago?
Well, it started with the golf course setup. Now, Thomas, what he did in the golf course setup is, and putting the ropes as far back as he did. I mean, one of the things that annoys me is to see a guy bail it into the crowd, not shout for, because they know it's going to stop the ball if they do. It stops the ball. They're on the hard pan. They got a straight shot into the green. They go up to the guy. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, didn't mean to hit it.
Sign a glove, though.
Sign a glove, yeah. Sometimes they do shout for, in fairness, but a lot of times there's not. And you know, they want to stop the ball from going further into the trees. Now they're on the hard pan. They got a straight shot into the green. By moving the ropes back as far as they did, now you've got 25 yards from the edge of the fairway before you get to the crowd. Now these guys are wild, but they're not 25 yards plus another probably 15 to the middle of the fairway, another 20 to the middle of. Now you're 45 from the middle of the fairway to the right side and the left side. They're not that wild. So that's why they were so punished this week, and that's why Clever Thomas was ready for that. And I don't think they set that exam very well of applying themselves to the golf club. I mean, how many times did they miss a fairway with? It wasn't a driver. I mean, they're only hitting 4 drivers around here. They're missing with rescues or missing with irons. You know, and
that doesn't make sense to me. They're the best players in the world. I like. Okay, Phil admitted in the press conference he didn't have his best stuff, and he was on the range the whole time trying to find it. Phil hooking one into the water with an iron. There were iron shots and hybrid shots that were not finding fairways. No. I like that. That doesn't. I still haven't heard a good explanation for that. Crosswinds, everything else fine.
It's because they don't do it. They're not used to hitting. They're not used to positional play. They don't play positional golf courses. They play. There's 14 holes that are par 4s and par 5s, and they hit driver. Certainly 12 of those, and the other 2 times they're hitting 3 wood. They don't play positional golf courses.